There. I'll start this recording. I almost forgot, tried to forget. Good job. The quiz, first quiz done. Awesome. Nice. As promised, only textbook questions. Huh? Kind of hampered my creativity though. So I don't know if I'll stick with that in the future. I can make up some really fun questions that are probably harder. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But we'll see how it goes. But good job. Done. So today, I don't have a lot to show you. I just want to talk about just kind of data visualization in general. And then I can't remember if I've shown you guys this video. Have I? No? Well, then it's time. So this is Superstore, obviously. Which is cram full of stats jokes, which is very funny. But this one, I couldn't find a clip. So this is actually me just standing in front of the TV filming it. Like really, really, really old school, but I had to get it. And the reason I had to get it is because it just highlights how silly it is to maybe make a visualization if just a number would do the same thing and communicate the same thing. Okay, so if I tell you, oh, the probability that you're going to get an A is 80%, you say, yeah, but also, what's the probability that you won't get an A? You know the opposite, right? You don't want to think about that. And so it's just to highlight. Oh, hang on. Whoa. Oh my gosh. It's moving so fast. Okay. How do I get the volume up? Crank it here. Hopefully that works. People for this store. I know. I know. I think there's subtitles. It's both. Okay. Anyways, it's on our Moodle page. You can watch it on your own with sound. Good thing I watched with subtitles. That kind of aged me a little bit, I guess. There. But anyways, just for fun. But I posted it on our Moodle page. Now for some real stuff. I posted a file, a data file called NYC flights. Okay. When I click it, I don't know if it looks the same to you, but when I click it, it shows up like this, right? And so what we want to do is kind of clean this up a little bit. It's a comma separated values file with some extra gunk at the top. So what I would do is, are you able to right click and then download the linked file? And then hopefully, how do I get rid of this? Hide. There. Oh, it didn't do it. Okay. Plan B. When I did download the linked file, it did the PHP file, which is not what I wanted. Is that what you guys got? Should do a CSV file. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, so we'll talk about the top. So hold up. if it opened nicely, it might look something like this with some junk at the top. That's okay. So, you can kind of poke around in here, but you see that the data kind of starts here for me at row 10. Mm. And so that's the data that we want to keep. But in general, whenever you're working with a data set like this, you don't want to manipulate your original download. You always want to kind of be able to go back to your original download. Obviously, you can just go back and download it, but it's nice to have them in the same Excel file. Okay, and so here I thought I was being so clever making it a CSV file, and then it just works for you guys anyways. So, all right, that's okay. So what you want to do is highlight all the things that you want to copy, which this is a big data file. And there's a ton of rows. You don't want to be scrolling all the way down. Okay. And so what I do is I tend to, for some reason, manually highlight the top row, right? I want to go from here all the way down to the end. Do you remember how to do that? For me, it's Control Shift down. Right? And so, or Command Shift down, whatever. Ta-da! Now I've highlighted all the data that I want to actually grab. Okay. And so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to, in a new tab, I'm going to paste it in the top, in the very, very top left corner and paste. There. That should look better. It should look something like this. Keeps bumping me out, but now, what's this data all about? Well, we can scroll around and we've got, well, a clue in the name, right? NYC flights, New York City flights, and we've got some, well, we've got the year. I think I'm okay with that. How about the month? Okay. How about the day? It's got the departure time. It's got the departure delay. Now, one question that I would want to tackle in my data dictionary, which you have to do, is what does a positive number mean and what does a negative number mean? Now, this is a kind of a default data set that we use. And so one thing that you can do is not see what you're doing here and just search NYC flights. And when I did it, the flights data through Open Intro, which is the textbook publisher that we're using, ta-da, you can click on the flights data and it gives you essentially a fancy data dictionary, right? Things that you should know about this data set before you use it, right? And so it's got 32,735 rows and 16 variables, right? We don't usually include that in our data dictionary, right? But that's good to know. That's kind of good knowledge before you scroll all the way down to the bottom of 32,000 rows, right? That sounds terrible. Yeah. And so it's got some variables, the date of the departure, and then ta-da, departure and arrival delays in minutes. The negative times represent early departures or arrivals. And so that's a component that I want to see in your data dictionary. So the first thing you're going to do is make a new tab, and you want to make sure that your file is an XLSX file. Okay. If it opened as a CSV, you might want to save as, just to be sure. Because if you work in a CSV file, which is just the most basic kind of lightest format that we can store data in, because it's just a text file separated by commas and it just knows how to read them. Okay. But what happens is it'll look like Excel, and you'll work in these tabs and you'll make tabs, but then when you save it, the tabs will be gone. Okay, so you don't want to do that. So you want to save as an Excel file. Oh, I just searched NYC flights like this. And it should come up. For me, it came up on the first, but maybe it's because it knows me. That's true. Oh, and open intro? Nice. Go XLSX. Should be at the top. It will be submitted, but due in a week. Always a week. Yeah, and then in brackets, does it say XLX? That's that probably is it. You're gonna grab information about your data set.
Oh, like copying this over?
You'll summarize it. You don't want to copy it over because it's way too much. But I want you to, so I've got a little description here. Okay. Zoom in. Do boop, 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 boop. Okay. So I posted the NYC flights data on Moodle as a CSV file, or at least I tried. The first thing you want to do is save it as an Excel SX file, which might be called an Excel workbook. Otherwise, any new tabs you make will not be saved. There are a couple of key things about data visualizations that I just want to touch on. But before I do, I want to walk you through what the assignment looks like. And I posted these steps in the assignment submission box, but we'll just talk about them. And I'll upload my Excel file after class. So you're going to save it as an XLSX file. That's great. Probably already done. And then copy the original data you'll be using into a new tab, label it data. We already did that, sort of. Or you'll want to do that later. And then I want you to rename the original tab original, which to me tells me don't touch this, right? This is just here for safekeeping, and it's just kind of hanging out. Okay? And so any manipulations that you do should be done in your new data tab, right? That one that you copied over. So you've got your original data, you're going to rename that original, and then we copied it over and it's nice and clean looking now. And so this is the sheet that you would call your data sheet. Where am I here? Description. It's kind of vague. In 3, I say clean up the data in the data tab if needed. And so what I want you to do is just kind of scroll around and see, is there anything that kind of looks weird in here. The slash in the minutes. That's the only thing I can see, but you do want to clean that up, right? So lots of ways that you could do it. Okay. I think the easiest way might be find replace, right? And so you can find and replace all the slashes because I don't see any other slashes that I would accidentally be replacing. And so that's why it's probably the easiest and safest solution for now. Okay. There are other things. You could use the I think there's a trim function. I think there's I know there's a left and a right function, but that's going to be kind of difficult. Okay? So I think find and replace is probably your best bet. You do not want to do it by hand, right? Oh boy. So just kind of getting used to kind of mass producing changes, not doing them by hand, right? I kind of want to, it is tempting, right? But I want to wean you off of that as much as possible. Okay, so that's the only thing really that I mean by clean it up for this one. Okay. Then you're going to create a data dictionary tab with a data dictionary. That's the same thing that you did on your last Excel assignment, right? You made a data dictionary and we have a new data set now. And so now you can make a new data dictionary, right? And that's where I'll add here NYC flights, open intro, maybe Google NYC flights, open intro, right? If you have any questions about that. But then I want you to just do a data dictionary like we were doing. Okay, so the variable name, right? A brief description, right? And I still want you to say if it's numerical or categorical. And if it's categorical, then either summarize the levels if there's many levels, right? Or if there's only, let's say, up to 5 levels, then list each of the levels, each of the possible levels. Okay. Then we're going to explore the data. And I know this is where it feels scary, I think. And just want you to find something, anything interesting, right? And depending on your sales skills, right, you can make anything sound interesting. And that's fine with me for now, right? And so I want you to just kind of poke around, do a lot of kind of, I don't know, exploratory data analysis, right? But then in the end, you're going to create a new tab called one variable. Okay? And in this tab, you're going to include one or more visualizations that support your findings. Okay? And then in a text box, just like this one that I've written in here, a text box is just a nice way of including text, maybe off to the side or something like that, because writing in the Excel cells is super annoying, right? And so throw in a text box and just provide a brief description of your findings, just as you would in a report. This isn't a report, but just a brief description. Okay? And I will say this, anyone who's reading a report appreciates brevity, right? You don't want to be going on and on and on and on and on. No one likes reading, right? And so the more kind of visualizations you can toss in and just kind of make it easy on the reader, then that's a good thing. You know? So then in another tab, you're going to have 2 variables. You're allowed to do 2 or more, right? If you found an element where if you include a third variable, then that tells your story, then that's cool. But I'm really only expecting 2. But there might be a third one that might help. Okay? And then so just do the same thing. I shouldn't say just. Do the same thing, but for 2 or more variables in a new tab. Right. So find some findings, something that you can sell as vaguely interesting, right, from this data, and then summarize it and provide 1 or more visualizations, right? Some things to keep in mind. So that's your assignment that's due in a week. Okay? And then you'll upload your Excel file. Some things to keep in mind for just data visualization in general, okay, is you want to keep your visualizations as simple as you can. Okay? It should require little to no explanation when you look at it, right? And so really you're just using it to guide your narrative. Use colors to highlight aspects that you want your reader to see, right? And so it's tempting to just have kind of a lot of colors and make it all nice and beautiful, and I understand that, but you want to use colors as part of your storytelling, right? And so kind of to guide the reader in the right direction, right? And look at this bar, for example, right? And so you also want to keep in mind, for example, there are kind of different levels of seeing color, right? So there's color blindness, and so you don't want to use kind of red and yellow, for example, because those can be hard to read. Or if you're printing black and white, then you have to keep that in mind too, right? Because then you can't be talking about, oh, look at the blue versus the turquoise. They're gonna look the same, right? So then you need to find a way around that. So just kind of using colors, but think about the colors, right? What do they mean? And there are a lot of research has gone into kind of what colors work for our brains and kind of match together and work together. And so as one example in the textbook, there's this Civitas scale. I think it's called Civitas, but it looks like this, very pleasing, kind of hard to distinguish if you're printing black and white, versus the default color scale, which might look something like this, which doesn't really communicate anything. Whereas here, if we're going from kind of lighter to darker, it's going very badly to very well, right? It kind of means something. One of my biggest pet peeves, and maybe my personal pet peeve, I guess, but not really industry. Yeah, no, industry-wide. In your final report, you only want to include visualizations that you refer to and or support your statements. You only want to use things that you refer to in your presentation or in your report, right? That doesn't mean that those are the only ones you've generated. Usually, you'll have a completely separate workbook with just tons and tons and tons of visualizations, trying it out, kind of playing around with it, and then you only keep the ones that that really help you tell your story. I know, so cheesy, but that's what we're doing, storytelling about data. And so you only want to keep things that you talk about, right, and that help support your statements. If you're working with a categorical variable, notice that I just said one variable, right? It could be a categorical variable, or it could be a numerical variable, right? Whatever you want. But for categorical data, you want to ensure that the order of the categories makes sense, right? And so depending on the scenario, right, some orders make sense and some of them don't, right? Sometimes you do want to stack your bars in kind of descending order, right? Sometimes you want to have, if you've done a survey, for example, and it's got this ordinal scale, right, where it has some natural ordering, then you should keep that natural ordering, right, in your scale. And so just if you're working with categorical data, that's another thing that you want to think about. Okay? And then finally, of course, just generally your visualizations should tell a story of your findings, right? A picture book, if you will, right? So nice. I know, no instructions. Kind of go fly on your own. So here, what I did on Moodle was, if you go into this assignment Dropbox, then I put the instructions here as well. So I'll upload the Excel file that I just did here. But you've got the instructions in that Dropbox as well. Any questions?
Yeah, what the columns are for the dictionary?
Let's see here. I'll do a data dictionary, sort of. Let me zoom in. Oh. Zoom in. I want the variable name exactly as it is in the spreadsheet. Do you remember the easiest way to do that? If you copy and then paste transpose, right? So you have to paste special transpose. I know, I'm not doing it on purpose, but the transpose is you're just flipping either from a column to a row or from a row to a column. A description of the variable, just a brief description, right? But enough for me to understand what it is. Sometimes, yeah, they're pretty straightforward, and sometimes they require a little bit more work. And the type, which is either numerical or categorical, I don't tend to care about continuous and discrete, or it's nice. Yeah, it's nice if you do. The only time that I would care is if you have an ordinal categorical variable where there's natural ordering, then it's good to make a mental note of that, but otherwise, no. If you want, well, let me see if I can move this out of the way a little bit. But let's say you wanted to make this column as wide as the widest text. Do you guys know how to do that? There's probably fancier ways, but I just wait until my cursor is a two-sided arrow on the line that I want to move out, and then I double click. It just kind of makes room for all the text. And then if categorical, list the levels, list or summarize the levels, right? Just as a rule of thumb, if you have kind of 5 or fewer levels, that seems reasonable to list them. But if you've got a lot of levels, then you can just summarize them. And usually in terms of formatting, as far as I'll go is I'll maybe bold the header row. That's it. You can go as crazy or not as you want, but these are the things that I want in your data dictionary. Nice. Any other questions? And like I said, interesting findings. I'm pretty flexible on that for this one, right? There are kind of more or less interesting things to find, but just use your sales techniques. This is so interesting because I don't know, who cares? All right. Let you try it. I'll stop this recording if there are no more questions. Okay. And have fun.